2 weeks away. Are you in panic mode that it's this close, or are you feeling kind of good about where things are at right now?
Certainly not in panic mode. I think the better term to describe what we're doing is just a sense of urgency. Yeah, I think we have a sense of urgency. We probably always have a sense of urgency. I'd at least like to think that, but it does get a little heightened as you get a little closer. On the court, there's the things that the foundational stuff, that your values, like, obviously those are things outside of X and O's, but when you get to the X and O's, there's the foundational values of how we're trying to play offense, the things that we really value there, how we're trying to play defense, the things we value there. And you're trying to refine those things every single day throughout the preseason, and never lose sight of those things. But as you get closer to games, some of those situational things or some of those bells and whistles that you just have to play a game, they become – honestly, every year you go, man, we don't have this in and we don't have that in, and we haven't addressed enough out-of-bounds plays, or maybe we haven't guarded certain actions we know we'll face early in the year. So the little things start creeping up on you, and you do feel that the season's getting closer. But we do a really good job of preparing here as a staff. And so even though we're having a little bit of that, I think we planned well this preseason, and from a structural standpoint, we're pretty far along, or as far along as we should be to this stage.
Or these two-time waivers denied, and obviously more people are appealing, and a lot of people are kind of in the same boat as you. Do you see a dramatic overturning of all this, and any update on how you're handling your guys?
I think, as I said in Kansas City last week, I think like we're at a very interesting inflection point with this second-time transfer process. And I think the NCAA has a real opportunity to get this right. And I'm gonna hope and have faith that they do. And and in the meantime, we're going to try to do everything we can within laws and rules to help our guys get on the basketball court, because they should be. They were led to believe they would be if they met guidelines and standards, which they've met, right? And so the process is not over. We're going to trust that this process, I'm going to have faith that the NCAA is going to use this as an opportunity to do the right thing. And if it's important to the membership, we all are the NCAA as a membership, to find a way to restrict two-time transfers, then we should find a way to do that collectively, regardless of what some coach does or doesn't think. But we have to make sure that that process is clear, that it's concise, that it's not arbitrary. And I hope that the NCAA doesn't penalize young people for a process that seems very difficult and confusing. Again, at 40 years old, if been through quite a bit as a leader, at least in this field, if I have a very, very difficult time understanding this process and I learn something new every day, well, life decisions were made back in the spring based on a very specific set of guidelines. Imagine what it's like for a young person. And my biggest concern right now is Aziz and Jamil's mental well-being. And that's not a line to try to help them get a waiver, okay? Like, this is very, 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 very difficult. They don't understand. They don't understand why they can't play. Like, imagine you made a life decision under the belief that you would be able to play basketball because of what you read and what people that were supposed experts that you consulted with told you, that if you went through this process based on the things in your life, you're going to be able to play when you transfer. You made life decisions to do that. And then imagine now they can't participate in our scrimmages. Like, we haven't gotten to games yet, and they are confused. And that's very, very difficult on so many different levels. It's very confusing and difficult for them. And that's my number one concern. And then obviously for our team to get them on the court, because it has an effect on so many levels. So, again, at this point, we're going through the process. I have faith that the NCAA is supposed to be about student athletes and student athlete well-being. That's what the organization is in place for. I have faith they're going to look at what's been going on here and look at this process and realize that it needs to get cleaned up and be a little bit more streamlined, or maybe communicate the process a little better. And let's hope they don't penalize or use young people as examples. And I have faith that won't happen. I have faith that they'll do the right thing.
Appeals been submitted, and do you have any better understanding of the timeline now than last time we spoke?
Yeah, we've submitted appeals. I don't have a timeline because they don't give you a very specific timeline other than they'll move quickly, and we hope to hear back. We hope to hear some good news soon, so that number one, Aziz and Jamil can just settle in and focus on the things that are important for a day-to-day college student, and not all this other junk. And then obviously it helps us prepare with our team.
Aziz and Jamil are obviously the big topic right now, but if they were not eligible, how much does it help having Odie and Vic back this year?
Well, again, I'm not going to think about them not being eligible, because I don't think that's fair to them. It would be an injustice for them not to be eligible, in my opinion. So we're not even going to talk about that. But having Vic and Odie back is extremely valuable to this club. I mean, two guys that had a ton of success the last 2 years in our program, but even more importantly, they've had success playing on the court together. They've been through things together. So they both improved. They both had the kind of off seasons that we expect, to the standard that we expect here. And I think they're both poised to have really good years. And the continuity in the program, it does mean so much, that they've done it together. They've been through things together. They know how we do things. I mean, I could go on and on and on about how important continuity is. And you have continuity with the right kind of people, it's really good for the program and really good for this year's team. And we have that with Odie and Vic.
A few weeks ago, that this team is in a better spot at this point in the year than your past two teams at Cincinnati. Since we talked those few weeks ago, how much has everyone improved? The young guys, how much have they matured? The older guys growing in leadership, that kind of thing.
Yeah, we're starting to try to become a basketball team, right? And I think what's been important from a coaching perspective is to try to create some real challenge, or some real adversity in the preseason, so the first time that we go through something or have to fight through something as a group isn't in a real game. Like, you want your preseason to have some moments that really challenge the group and force the group to have to figure out how to overcome those challenges together. So we've put our foot on the gas a little bit as a coaching staff. Certainly in my seat, I've been much more divisive and challenging in our last week and a half of practice, and I think it's the right time to do that. We have a group that's mature. We have a group that's unselfish and wants to be good. But wanting to do those things is one thing. Figuring out and learning how to do them together is something else. And we've been really pushing the gas a little bit here the last week and a half. Our tone's been strong with this team.
Aziz and Jamil, are they still as active in the program, practice-wise, all that stuff? Just obviously haven't been able to participate in scrimmages, but you feel like they'll be ready to roll, able to get out there and play the normal amount of minutes that they would normally play once they get cleared here in terms
yes,
of practice?
the only thing they haven't participated in is any competition against another opponent. And you only get 2 of those in the preseason. We've had one. We'll have another one this weekend. They're the secret thing that they, whatever. But there's actually some good to that, right? Like, there's a reason why I don't talk about it, because you agree with another coach that you're not going to talk about it. Coaches approach them very, very differently. And, I can tell you I approach one differently than the other, and it has nothing to do with the opponent. So to try to analyze based on scores and box scores and stuff, we don't approach it like a game. So it'd be silly to have media and other people, analyze it like a game, because we don't. We're using it as a glorified practice. But anyway, those two events, if they're not eligible to compete in games, or they're not eligible to compete in those closed-door scrimmages. So outside of those 2 dates in our preseason, they're cleared to participate in everything else that we do. So they should be as in good a condition as anybody on our team.
4 of your top 5 scorers from last year. How do you feel like this team offensively is stacking up to deal with that, especially the guards and wings that are, asked to fill Dave and Landers and JD's kind of production from last year?
Yeah, it's the makeup of the team is so much different that the direct comparisons probably are a waste of my time and energy and unfair, right? I think our style of play with this group is really evolving. I wouldn't say totally changing because the foundational things have mattered, but it's really evolving. We're playing significantly faster, right? I mean, significantly faster. We have real depth. Like, you hope that continues, but we have real depth. So we're playing significantly faster. We're in the open court in advantage situations more consistently. The ball, we're really emphasizing ball movement with this group. And, if you thought about our team this time last year, you had 2 guys, like Dave being number 1. I mean, some of your best offense in the half court was, like, get Dave the ball where he's comfortable and get the heck out of his way. I mean, he was an elite ball screen player, but he was an elite isolation player. I mean, as good as we had in college basketball under 6'2" last year. I mean, you just get him. We don't have that kind of a guy, and that's not a knock on anybody, but we don't have somebody that has those strengths. So we're trying to generate offense by creating more advantages and more ball and player movement, more advantages in the open court. We focused a lot more this year on executing offensive sets. And again, Landers Nolly had some elite skills that he could kind of make some things happen with his skill and size when there wasn't a lot there. And then obviously Jeremiah was such a threat beyond the three-point line, and every team was so worried about that. Our makeup of our best offensive players a year ago was different than the makeup of this group of offensive players, so we're approaching it differently. So to compare would be a little unfair. And the other thing, it's going to be a little offensive process, Chad, with this team, because quite frankly, we'd had Dave for a year and some change, so we kind of knew, like, where do you make sure Dave has the ball, like, and where's his role? You knew that going into the year, so we could work on that from day one. We had Jeremiah for a year, so we kind of knew exactly the right places that we thought he should be used. We're still kind of figuring that out with this group, and certainly you learn a lot more when you play against somebody else than when you play against yourselves in practice. So we're learning a lot against ourselves, but shoot, we jumped up and scrimmaged somebody else, and you go, oh, well, that's a little different against a different style of defense, or a different style of defense that isn't the scout team, right? So it's going to be a little bit of a process, but I think there's some trends with this team that'll be much different than the last. And that doesn't say anything good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, we were really explosive at times last year, so I was proud of who we became as an offensive team.
The fans are really going to like Jizzle James, but you've compared him to Dave on occasion a little bit. I know he's not Dave yet, but I mean, his work ethic and things like that.
I was like, how did I compare him to Dave? I was trying to remember that.
Yeah, just coming in and, coming early, staying late, that type thing.
Listen, you guys say that I'm comparing a freshman to David Joy. David Joy's just going to FaceTime me before I leave this press conference, asking me I can't compare any freshman to him. But no, Dave to me is the standard for how you approach the work you do outside of practice in this program. He set the standard for what that looks like, what you do when you're not practicing. And I can't give Jizzle the credit that he's at that level, but for somebody his age, he's impressed me with his approach on the things he's doing, not just when practice is going on. And that bodes well for him to have a good year. He's a freshman. I mean, he's a freshman that's playing point guard. So he's had some bad days, guys. I mean, it's just no way around that. And I've actually been pleased that we've gone through some difficult days on the court with him, because it's going to happen, so let's deal with it now. But I think that it's been challenging, for him at times to try to learn a new system that's at a new level. And we're also playing extremely fast, and we're pressuring the basketball. And there's a lot for him right now. But because of his mindset, if he continues to have the same mindset, he's going to be fine, and he's going to have a good freshman year. Davion Thomas, you talk about Jizzle a lot because, deservingly so, but Davion Thomas has been really solid thus far at point guard. I think any of the players would say that, and I think our coaching staff would say that he might not have had the biggest name in recruiting coming from junior college, but he's been pretty dang good so far. But he's going to have some adjustment as well, and we're trying to make sure they go through some of that now, not just when games start.
You mentioned the depth of this team. How has that competition day in and day out in practice helped with the growth throughout this offseason?
I just believe in what you just said. I mean, I believe when, you talk about player development, and we care a lot about that here. You talk about team development, and when you're around a bunch of other people that have the same goals and mindset that you do, and they have talent, and, they want to be great, and you put all that into the same environment every day, like rising tides float all boats type of thing. I mean, yeah, I think that's the idea of it. Let's trying to build a great culture. I think we've taken a lot of steps there. We're trying to get the right people to fit into that, and we hope that all of us help elevate each other, and that's the idea. That's where real growth happens. Iron sharpens iron, referencing my buddy.
The Big 12 director of officiating has spoken to me. They said there's going to be some changes to the charge and block rule, and that they looked at 100 charges, and 96 of them would not be blocks. I was just wondering your thoughts on that. Like that change, or is it will be a significant adjustment?
Yeah, so we had our commissioner of officials. I think he's been going around to everywhere in the league. He came by here and showed us some film of that rule change specifically. Talked about all the rule changes, but showed us some film of that. And we've been hearing about it. I've read about it, but listening to Curtis talk about it was impactful, and it was really impactful for him to talk to our team. So yeah, it's going to be a different game this year. You're going to have a really hard time drawing charges. And that's just what it is. I think you're going to have to be set. It's almost like you're going to have to be a statue before somebody even thinks about going into their shooting motion. And that's not the actual rule, but I think that's the best way to understand it. I mean, it's going to be really hard to draw a charge, so you got to adjust some of your teaching and some of your habits, and we've been doing that. And then I think we've tried to do a nice job of emphasizing that in practice and live play.
Did anyone have more fun last week than Victor Locken? And have you seen describe how you've seen him blossom since you've been here?
Scott, if you can ask a question to make me laugh out loud in a press conference, you did good today. Okay, yeah, he had it wasn't just Vic. I think Vic and Odie. Who else did we take with us? And John Newman. My gosh, senior moment. But Vic and Odie and John Newman, they had a blast last week. And I think, first off, it reminds you as a coach, we're still around young people every day, and that was fun for me to watch them have fun. It makes me feel young. But the other thing is it's a credit to the job the Big 12 does. I mean, it was first class. It was first class, and they did a great job with our guys and letting the players have a really neat experience. So that was really cool. But as fun as you guys saw them having at Media Day, we got on the plane to fly back for practice. We had to get back for practice that night, and Victor was sitting right across from me, and he told me he was going to try to distract me the whole flight so that I couldn't write practice. And he was so dang tired from all the fun you saw him having. That distraction lasted about 3.5 minutes, and I got a great practice written. So as fun as he was having, he was tired as could be when he got on that airplane.
You mentioned pressure a minute ago. You haven't really been able to press the way that you wanted to your first 2 years here. Do you think this team is more suited to that, and will we see maybe a little bit more of that?
Yeah, we've certainly played with it a little bit. I thought last year, when I was evaluating the year at the end of the season, I thought we spent a little too much time on it early, and when John's injury occurred, we probably weren't ready to press like that, and we'd spent quite a bit of time in our preseason. Now, like hindsight's 2020, and if John would have been healthy, I think that team could have pressed a lot more. So I do think we'll evolve to that. We have some stuff in, and we've worked at it a little bit, but we haven't spent as much time on it yet, just because I don't want to make the same error that we might have made a year ago. But the things that we do defensively, the things like our defensive principles and our full and half court man-to-man, if you really invest in those, it's actually pretty easy to start pressing because a lot of the same principles and habits apply, even though some of the structure changes.
Take us through getting adjusted to Cincinnati and what it's been like in this town and getting used to this team.
I feel like I only have good things to say. I mean, first of all, adjustment isn't really new to me. When I was like 16, I moved to Germany from Lithuania. Then after 2 years, I moved to Butler, and this was all by myself without my family. So I feel like adjusting to a new environment and a new comfort zone is kind of usual to me. I'm not gonna say usual, but it's not really hard. So most of it was just, you know, I was very excited to get here. So, and it all lived up to my expectations, and I've just been having a lot of fun. You know, it's all been great.
I apologize for my ignorance in advance. Just so I know, the thing over the S in your last name, what is that called, and which direction does it go?
It's like a V kind of, so it goes upwards, and that basically makes my name Lukošius instead of Lukošius. So it's kind of like there's no such thing in the Lithuanian alphabet, so there's only that. So yeah, so basically that makes a SH sound.
Victor was ecstatic that you got on the roster. He expounded upon that last week. So how are you guys getting along?
I mean, we're getting along pretty well. I'd say the relationship between Lithuanians and Russians hasn't been great in history, but we're doing all right so far. So, yeah.
Follow up on that, was him being here a big reason why you chose to come to Cincinnati? Just having that kind of familiarity?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'm not gonna say big reason, like not in terms of like, oh, there's a European on the team, so I want to go play with a European, but just in terms of, you know, the skill he has, and I feel like we can be a great duo on the court, and we can complement each other well. But then also, of course, the relationship, and from my visit, you know, I had a good time with him, so I felt like there's already a person here that, you know, is going to be a part of my circle, and yeah, that also really helped.
Multiple times the versatility you bring to this roster. Can you just describe your game for fans who maybe haven't had much viewing of you?
I mean, if you're gonna come and expect dunks from me and you know, rim protecting, I'm not gonna provide that, at least this year yet. Wes hasn't gotten that out of me, but yeah, I'd say versatility is one of my biggest strengths. You know, I can play almost every position, I guess, and I rely a lot on my decision making and shooting. I really like to, you know, create for others and for myself. And I've always been, you know, a less athletic guy, so I've had to learn how to play the game of basketball and use that to my advantage. So I'd say that's the main attraction point of my game.
The follow-up, how much does it help having a guy like C.J. Frederick and Dan Skillings playing next to you?
It's very helpful. I just love the whole roster. I mean, we have, you know, we have deadly shooters, we have great finishers, we have lob threats. There's a lot of fun that I can have with, you know, creating for them and them creating for me. So, yeah, it's been really fun to practice, like I said, this whole off season.
Where do you feel like you took the biggest jump this offseason?
I'd say just as after my freshman year and this year, I feel like just the experience I've gained from last year, it just gave me so much confidence heading into the next year. So I'm really excited for my junior year again, because I feel like I've just developed in every facet of my game. And I really think Coach West's probably not going to agree, but I think my defense took a step because, you know, especially this defensive system, it really pushes me a lot to, you know, stay in front of my man a lot. And I feel like I've been doing pretty well this summer.
Went through a Big East schedule last year, going into Big 12 this year, power conference, a lot of travel, a lot of big-time games each and every night. Do you feel like you can add a nice sounding board for some other guys on this roster who maybe don't have that power conference experience yet?
Yeah, I feel like I know the importance of staying together and, never checking out mentally, even though it might be easy to do so. So I feel like I can definitely stress the importance of that to the guys who might think that, this is our 7th game in a row of, in 2 weeks. And, I definitely think that experience will be helpful.
Can you talk about the decision to come to Cincinnati a little bit? Just walk us through what your relationship is like with Coach Westmiller, Coach Dollar, Coach Morgan. What has that process been like for you this offseason?
It was difficult because in a transfer portal you don't have that much time to get to know the coaches, but the relationship is really great. The main thing that drew me here was the coaching staff because I feel like I have a big trust in them, and I feel like we share our ambitions. So I think they know what I want in my career, and I think they're the right people to help me achieve that. And I also think that I'm the right player to help them achieve what they want to achieve.
Have you been able to throw a lob so high that Aziz couldn't catch it yet?
No, I don't know if that's possible.
Have
but
you tried?
I haven't tried. I might have to do that.
What was it about your relationship with Coach Adams that helped solidify Cincinnati as a contender? You had a lot of people that were coming after you.
Really, and also this is not just Coach Adams, but I put a lot of attention to how the coaching staff is going to treat my father and just my family in general. And I feel like the fact that Coach West and all the assistant coaches put a lot of focus on recruiting not just me but the people around me. And as far as me, I really rely on my dad a lot in my decision making, and that really helped.
They went to see him, right?
Yeah.
Was that major?
Yeah, very major. No, they're back home in Lithuania.
Anything else for Simas?
Thank you.
Does this feel now from a year ago, you've got experience in the system, you added, probably 20 pounds, whatever it is.
Something like that.
How much different does prepping for this season feel than a year ago?
It feels similar, very, very similar as last year. I think last year I struggled a lot with a lot of things, and playing the game of basketball was very hard for me last year. Still is, but I was playing the game thinking a lot because I never wanted to mess up or I didn't know how to do things. This year, being a sophomore, learning from Coach West, I know how to play the game without thinking as much because I know what I'm doing more. So it's a lot more understanding this year, not as much hard or easy, or it's not easy. College basketball is not easy anywhere you go at this level, but very excited for this season and the upcoming, and it's been great playing with the team and listening to my coaches and worrying about the season.
By all appearances, you guys seem to get along, at least, what I'm seeing on Twitter and the different interviews and things like that. Is that the way it is?
Yeah, man. As soon as they got here, we all just gelled. All the old guys from last year, and then when all the new guys came in, it was no oh this or oh that. We gelled really easy. Everybody gets along. We all crack jokes with each other. We all talk to each other and chill with each other. We all go to each other's rooms, talk, chill. It's not just, oh, I see you when we're on the court. That's it. Off the court, we gel so easy, going to coach's house or just hanging with each other at our places. So, yeah, we really do gel together. I love these guys.
What do you feel like the biggest jump in your game has come this offseason as a guy who you are still kind of relatively in years-wise new to the game of basketball?
I think I jumped the most in defense, and that's why I feel like I needed to make the biggest jump in my career if I wanted to go to places I wanted to go and to help this team the most I can. And I think working on my defense will help our team the most and our success, and it'll help the coaches as well. So I think I improved the most on defense for sure.
Coached you really hard last year. Was that difficult for you to take, or is it part of your personality that you kind of welcome that and look forward to it? 'Cause it didn't seem to bother you.
Yeah, I welcome that with open arms. That's the reason why I came here, man. It was the most realist and truthful coaching staff I've ever been a part of, and they keep it real with me. They didn't hand me out anything, and they told me they were going to be hard on me, and I like that because I know it's real love. If a coach ain't being hard on you, or just not talking to you as much, or not worrying about you as much, it's not a good thing, you know. So it's all love when the coaches get hard on me because they want to see me do great. They want to see me get better, and they want it to be better for our team. So, I love when the coaches are hard on me for sure, man. It just shows how much they care about this program, me as a person in general, and they don't just care about on the court stuff. They care about off the court stuff too. So they're there for me there in basketball. So I love the hard coaching, yeah, and I can handle it very, very well. Very coachable.
Kind of following up on what Russ said, but you haven't been playing for that long. When did you realize, when did it click for you that you might be a high-level Division I basketball player?
It took a while, like 8th grade, 9th grade of high school. I would just play it for fun. It was fun for me at the time, and it still is. I didn't mean to say it. It still is very fun at the time. But it was something fun to do, and I just did it with my friends in the neighborhood. I went to a public school, and I didn't really, start taking it serious till, where my mindset was thinking about NBA. I always, even before I started playing basketball, I always thought about, I want to go to the NBA, I want to go to the NBA, all the time, but I never really put it in perspective, can I actually get there, you know? So not really till, after my junior year summer in high school. That's when I was like, okay, because I had my trainer, Coach Kenneth Jackson, that got with me my sophomore year, and he's been trying to prep me for this level because he thinks I can make it to this level and higher. So really in my junior year of high school, after that summer, I was like, okay, I got to really take this serious. This is going to be my life more than anything else, before anything else. So God first, of course, and the family and here, but junior year after summer, yeah, I really took this serious.
Jizzle James has a unique family background. What impresses you most about who he is as a person?
Man, he has a lot of energy. I thought I did this energy stuff. I thought I had all the energy and no one can beat my energy. But Jizzle, man, he has such a good positive vibe to him, smiling face, man. Stuff I love, positive things, man. And he's active. He wants to learn so bad too. He's doing so good this year with us, man. He works through it. He's very coachable, and he just brings a positive, shining light to practice every single day.
Coach talked about it in Kansas City about how Victor Locken has expanded his game. He's been shooting about 40% from deep. Just talk about what you've seen from him in terms of growth here over the summer and this offseason.
Yeah, man, Victor, he's a hard worker. He really cares about our progress this year and this summer, and he really cares about how much we're going to accomplish this year. And we might need him to take some threes, set a screen, pop, and shoot a three, and he's been working on his game every single day, and we see it. If I'm going to walk the lift, I see him in the gym at 9 a.m. shooting. He's really working on his game, and everyone sees that, and everyone appreciates that, how much he cares for our team, because everyone knows we got big things to do this year.
Wes has mentioned the depth and experience of this team. How has that helped with your development during this offseason?
Everyone on this team, everybody knows how to play. Everybody knows how to play together. Everyone gels on the court and off the court, like I said earlier. And everybody just makes the right play. There's no sticky hands. There's no selfish things. Everybody on this team is very selfless and we want to be in March Madness this year. Simple as that. And we know that's going to only happen if we work together and have a lot of teamwork.
Aziz and Jamil's situation, they're still practicing, but
oh yeah, we just open them with open arms, man. We want the best for them, and we just work every day and keep our mind on every day and not the future or the past, and we just practice every day. After practice, we worry about the next practice, and we keep it like that.
Same question as Simas. Have you been able to throw a lob that Aziz couldn't get to?
To who?
To Aziz, that he couldn't reach. Have you thrown one over his head?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think one time, and that was just because it was my first lob I threw in a while. So not really. He catches those anywhere, really. Seriously, he can catch them anywhere, and he surprised me a lot so far.
Is there any one that stood out where you thought there was no chance, and he?
Yeah, I probably threw it top left, backboard, top left, and he grabbed it like this, and it's wild. It looks freakish, very freakish. He's nuts. He's really good at the game.
Good have him on your side as opposed to when you had to go against him?
Of course. It's great to have him on our side, man. I love it, and I'm looking forward to everything he's going to do well. But I did lay him at Utah Valley, though. He knows that, and I always bother him with that. So I got to lay up over him for sure.
As a follow-up to the Aziz question, last year in the AAC tournament, you had a finish over Jamil and did the too small. Have you guys talked about that at all?
Yeah, I talked to him about that a little bit, too. I never even, like, during the game or even after the game or when he first got here, I didn't even realize that was, like, on him. And then someone had sent me a clip, and I heard it said, like, too small on Reynolds or something like that. So I sent him the clip, and I started laughing. This was very recent, like probably like a month ago. But, yeah, I messed with him a little bit on that. Like, that's a iconic little picture I got of him. So, yeah, a lot. Very. Yes, sir.
As the headlining player of West's first class and just trying to establish the West culture and the culture that you bought into as a recruit, do you feel any pressure to kind of make that sophomore leap this year, and has that kind of funneled into your work ethic throughout this offseason?
Anything you want to do, like to get to a really, really, really high point in your basketball career and a really high point with your team, it's going to be a little pressure for sure, or it shows you just don't care. But I care a lot about this team and the coaches and our players and our success. So, yeah, there's some pressure, but I'm just looking forward to getting after every day with my team and listening to the people in our circle, which is our basketball team, and our coaches, and blocking out all the other noise or anything else like that, and just keep moving on.
Wes mentioned a couple weeks ago about how Jizzle and Rayvon have been basically living in the gym since they got here, where he's had to tell people to kind of close the gym. Just talk about what you've seen from those two guys. He kind of says it reminds him of a guy like David DeJulius, who was always in the gym getting a bunch of sweat in before, after, during practice. Have you seen that resemblance a little bit?
Yeah, they shocked me a lot, and I've seen them in the gym a lot of times. It makes me question myself. I'm like, I got to get in there, and these are freshmen. Like, I got to get in there. And, yeah, man, they're hard workers. They really want it for this team, and they really want it for themselves, too. And like I said, man, before practice, they're in there. After practice, they're taking extra shots. Sometimes they get in there late night, and sometimes I can get rough on your body, so that's why probably Coach West said that. But that's a good thing. If Coach West, the head coach, is trying to tell you to get out the gym, it's a very good sign. It's a very good sign.
Day-Day is a bit of a blur with the ball. How much does he change everything offensively with his ability to kind of get down the court and put pressure on the defense?
He's a fast guy, super fast, faster than anyone I've ever guarded. And I don't think we can ever get pressured with him. Seriously, like, I don't think if we're bringing up the ball and they try to pressure us and get into a 2-2-1 or whatever it is, or a 1-2-2, I don't think we can get stopped. And we got very good guards on this team and a very smart team. So, and he just blows it up with his quickness and his smartness within his experience.
Let's say hypothetically you played a Big Ten team in a scrimmage that you're not allowed to talk about. Was that the Day-Day that you're talking about? I've heard he handled the pressure in that hypothetical situation very well.
We see it every day in practice. Every day in practice we see how he responds from pressure and how he reacts from pressure. And even if it goes bad, we see how much he responds. So he gets right through it, 100%.
Very critical. Good job.
Yes, sir.
Anything else? All right, thanks, Dan.
Thank y'all. Have a good one.